A reality that defies understanding often generates the kind of denial you feel when the Wi-Fi drops during the final boss fight. And we see the Demon King screaming in pain, doing the classic anime clutch the chest and stagger. The universal symbol for this was not in the brochure. He simply refused to see what was happening, like a guy ignoring the low battery warning, as the hero defeated him in his throne room. At that moment, the man is forced to face the harsh truth of his humiliating and painful defeat, the ultimate skill issue. His proud black flames, his main character's signature move, could not even scratch the heroes, failing like a premium attack that does 0 damage. And he wonders why, stuck in a loading screen of pure confusion. The young man questions how the hero's blade, which statistically shouldn't have pierced his defense, pierced his scales and buried itself in his heart. In his memories, he was superior to everyone and graduated as the valedictorian from the Demon King Academy, top of the class, the teacher's pet of evil. He deeply studied the holy text, the book called the Demon King's Pattern, and followed it religiously like it was the ultimate life hack. Just as the pattern dictated, he built a tower, the standard evil starter pack, and also kidnapped some princesses, ticking the classic villain bingo square. After that, he nurtured the heroes who came to save them, letting them grind and level up stronger and stronger, the perfect toxic relationship. For a demon, anger and sadness are just the supreme feast, the emotional 5-star meal, and killing them early would be a waste of good XP. The pattern taught that fattening them before devouring them makes the meal much more delicious, like slow cooking your own doom. He followed the pattern more faithfully than anyone, the ultimate rule follower, and world domination was just a matter of time, the final quest marker on his map. With this, he absorbed the sadness and anger of countless beings, including that of the heroes themselves, thus becoming a demon stronger than any other that had ever existed in the world, max level, endgame ready. But then he wonders why it is him lying on the ground, defeated and totally humiliated, like his save file got corrupted. The Demon King does not understand how this happened, and the hero calls him trash, saying they are all the same, the NPC dialogue of victors. The hero from Bosch says that demons set everything up but are always shocked by the final result, like following a recipe and being surprised when the cake bakes. Filled with rage, the Demon King questions what kind of nonsense the hero is talking about at that moment, his brain buffering. Then the warrior explains, with the tone of a veteran player to a noob, that they always kidnap the most famous princess to send a signal, the biggest, flashiest beacon for heroes. The hero calls the Demon King stupid and says if it were him, he would have taken out the king to throw the kingdom into chaos, a proper speedrun strategy. With this, the Demon King realizes that if the human king were kidnapped, humans would fight among themselves, and their anger would not be concentrated on him, a divide-and-conquer tactic he never considered. But that would violate the sacred teachings of the pattern and prevent him from growing as a true Demon King, a blasphemy against the meta. The hero continues mocking and thanks the Demon King for sending monsters to help them train when they go to the tower, the perfect free-farming mobs. The warrior even comments that when they finally reach the tower, things get even better for them, like reaching the endgame dungeon. He explains that the first floor is always full of weak creatures, which is perfect for leveling up according to their skills, the tutorial zone. The Demon King thinks he could not let the hero die along the way because he needed to harvest more energy to keep the farm going. He did all that just because it was what the pattern taught, and he always followed the book to the letter, a slave to the guide. Next, we see again the moment when the hero charges at the Demon King with everything. The Demon King's face shows all his shock and his anger at realizing the truth behind everything, the facepalm of 1,000 suns. The hero reveals that when the tower becomes outdated, when the grind gets boring, he simply eliminates the demon so a new one can emerge, resetting the server. He continues saying that it is basically a hunting ground made for heroes, and asks if his friends agree. The other heroes agree and thank the Demon King for helping them level up, even calling him Godfather, the ultimate carry. He continues the mockery, thanking him for the great training location and saying the tower had very good item drops, better than any gacha pull. Lying on the ground, the Demon King cannot believe what happened and wonders if his tower was just a training ground for them, a glorified gym membership. The hero admits the Demon King was strong and many heroes died, but that only made him more famous, raising the bounty. Then the warrior says goodbye to the Demon King and prepares to deliver the final blow with his sword. Demon King becomes enraged, thinking that a mere hero should not humiliate him that way. The final boss denied his dignity. As his life fades, he wonders what the Demon King's pattern was for, what was the point of the grind. After all, he refuses to die in vain, and with his last strength tries to say who he really is before disappearing, trying to get his final line in. With a last cry of fury, he declares that he is the Demon King while releasing all his remaining energy, the ultimate rage quit. His vision begins to darken, and his energy dissipates rapidly as he is completely defeated, the game over screen closing in. The man looks up with a mix of pain and hatred on his face, accepting his bitter fate, the classic "I'll get you next time" look. From his point of view, he sees the hero standing there without showing any concern for him, already looting the room. Suddenly, one of the heroes approaches and says not to touch the head because the horns are his, calling dibs on the legendary loot. However, when he tries to take the horns, a strange purple energy begins to emerge from the Demon King's body. The unexpected phase 2. The Demon King sacrifices his last drop of life to offer one last desperate attack against them, the final unskippable cutscene move. The hero is startled and wonders if that is what he is thinking, but it is already too late, the oh crap moment. With that, a huge explosion of purple energy completely consumes the Demon King's body. The warrior who tried to take the horns is caught full force by the explosion and screams in pure agony, the price of greed. The energy expands throughout the throne room and hits all the heroes present. The Demon King's curse turns all the heroes into flaming skeletons in an instant, a party wipe. In his final moments, he realizes the pattern was wrong and was used to deceive them, the ultimate scam. His consciousness dissipates as he bitterly laments having followed that book all along, the regret of a lifetime subscription. He wishes for one more chance to be able to take revenge and do something about that damn thing. His last curse echoes as the purple energy explodes over the tower, and he wishes that orcs devour the pattern, the most specific of hexes. Suddenly, he wakes up startled, hearing someone calling his name very loudly, the alarm clock of fate. The protagonist finds himself in a younger body and a familiar place but cannot understand the situation, the classic ice guide into my own past glitch. He is in the middle of a crowd and questions what the heck is happening at that moment. With a sweaty face in the cold and a racing heart, the boy realizes that somehow he is alive, with a second chance, a new game plus. Then a voice calls him by name, Baridius, and asks him to hurry and get on the stage immediately. While walking toward the stage, he still tries to process that whole bizarre, unexpected situation, the ultimate, did I just dream my death vibe? The young man realizes it cannot be and wonders if that is really what he is thinking, a regression trope in real time. The Academy Dean asks Baridius what a genius like him is doing so distracted on graduation day, the day of his greatest failure. He receives the red badge given to all who complete the Demon King Academy. With that, it finally clicks, and Burr begins to understand what really happened to him. He realizes he went back 15 years in time to the day of his graduation ceremony, the save point before everything went wrong. Burr does not know why he returned to the past, but he understands that is a great opportunity for him, the ultimate exploit. Next, the class speaker, Baridius, is called as the representative to read the oath of the new Demon Kings. Before everyone, he is faced with the projection of the Demon King's pattern and its 6 main rules, the source of all his pain. Burr stares at the Demon King's pattern with a serious look full of contempt for the first time, seeing the malware for what it is. He remembers how he memorized every syllable of those principles to which he dedicated himself. He recalls that it was that same trash that led him to death and turned him into a toy for the heroes, a tutorial that teaches you to lose. Looking at the other graduates, he wonders with disgust if he really needs to read that again, the cringe of reciting a lie. And the worst of all is that he would have to swear to follow those rules for the rest of his life in front of everyone, signing the bad contract. We see the teachers and the dean smiling with great pride at their best student. But inside, Burr grinds his teeth in anger as he remembers the humiliation he went through, the flashbacks of fail. Then the announcer calls his name and asks him to recite the great Demon King's pattern. With a smile of pure hatred on his face, the boy prepares to give his answer, the smile of a man who has seen the spoiler. To the shock of everyone present, the protagonist simply refuses to obey, pressing the skip tutorial button. His classmates are completely confused by his unexpected attitude, the glitch in the matrix. He shouts that he cannot make such a stupid oath because following the pattern is the dumbest thing to do, the ultimate wake-up call. With hatred in his eyes, the boy prepares to say what the Demon King's pattern really is. Then he shouts for everyone to hear that the Demon King's pattern is nothing but complete trash, a scam guide. The protagonist's declaration leaves all his classmates completely shocked, the record scratch moment. One of the teachers is so shocked by what happened that his glasses break on their own, the anime reaction perfected. The Academy Dean is also completely furious and shocked by the boy's audacity, the system error. Baridius's shout echoes through the great Academy Hall in that moment of tension. It was at that moment that the Academy's greatest speaker became the greatest lunatic of the century, the origin story of a heretic. A powerful, imposing figure slams his hand down hard, demonstrating his immense fury. The admin has logged on. The Archduke Archimblarimp says Burr can be executed for insulting the Demon King's pattern, the banhammer raised. However, the Archduke decides to give the boy one last chance to save himself. The classic explain yourself prompt. He demands that Burr take back what he said and apologize. His posting will be in a place called Aram. The crowd knows that Aram is the dimension where demon kings die, being a death sentence, the high-level zone for noobs. They wonder why he would give another chance to a criminal, since an apology is not enough. The Archduke reminds him that Aram is the worst domain where countless demon kings have already lost their lives, the server graveyard. But to everyone's surprise, Burr looks the man in the eye and says to send him there, accepting the hard mode quest. He declares he will go to Aram to prove that the Demon King's pattern is nothing but a big pile of trash, turning his punishment into his mission state. With that, the Archduke calls him a lost cause and banishes him through a magic circle, the fast travel to hell. Furthermore, he will receive no privileges, and no demon will accompany him on his journey, the solo challenge run. Burr is then thrown out of the demon kingdom, and forbidden from returning until he completes his mission, the exiled protagonist starter kit. While falling, he thinks he already expected this after all the chaos he caused, the consequences of based actions. The boy is being sent back to the place where the heroes who defeated him are, the lion's den. He remembers that before regressing, he himself chose Aram because he thought the strongest should go there, his past arrogance. That arrogance cost him his life, as many heroes were exploiting the Demon King's pattern, the players farming the boss. A great explosion happens on top of a snow-covered mountain. Burr lands with his demon wings in the mountains, the dramatic entrance. He swears he will not let that happen twice, and that now he will exploit the system, becoming the meta. With a look full of determination, the boy declares he will exploit the hero's patterns, turning the tables. In another place, a man with long hair and an elegant appearance is shaving calmly, completely unaware that the game rules have just changed. He buttons his dress shirt, heading for a special occasion, looking sharp like a final boss in his human disguise. This is Gordon Dirk, that year's top graduate of the Demon Academy, the valedictorian of villainy support staff. He thinks to himself that while the Demon King Academy trains the main characters, the protagonists of evil, his academy trains the loyal sidekicks, the competent minions who will serve them. Everyone congratulates him on the honor of serving Burrs, getting the S-rank place. With a polite smile, Gordon remarks that every Demon King from their institution is a great person, the standard line. With a more sinister grin, he adds that none are as great as Lord Payman, his personal favorite. He considers Burrs a prodigy of the demon dragon lineage, a legendary class. To graduate alongside him is a true blessing, like getting a 5-star character on your first pull. With Lord Burrs as his king, Gordon believes they could conquer any dimension they wanted, the ultimate power due. He is confident their names will be recorded together in the glorious annals of the Demon Kingdom's history, the ultimate buddy cop story of darkness. But suddenly, Burrs' voice echoes through the hall, declaring that everything Gordon just thought is completely wrong, the record scratch heard around the underworld. Gordon and the other students are frozen, shocked and confused by the boy's unexpected statement, their career paths glitching out. The protagonist shouts that the Demon King's standards are nothing but trash, leaving the entire room in stunned silence, the equivalent of calling the holy textbook a scam. Gordon is so rattled his glasses crack, the anime cliché of pure shock, and he descends into sheer panic, his entire life plan doing a system crash. Cut to the present. Gordon stands in the remote northern mountains, a location from which all demons were forbidden to accompany, the ultimate, abandoned by the devs zone. Yet here he is, ready to serve his king, the definition of ride or die for a cause that already blew up. The bespectacled demon is bewildered. Why is Burrs here? No demon was supposed to come. He turns and sees the protagonist walking toward him. Burrs offers a friendly greeting and extends his hand, calm and composed, like he didn't just nuke both their reputations. Gordon can only stammer out a question. Why did you do it? Burrs acts oblivious, asking what he's talking about, the audacity of a man who started a revolution. Gordon nearly explodes. He says Burrs insulted the sacred standards, and now they're both going to die here in Aram because of it, a party wipe waiting to happen. Burrs tells him to calm down before he tears his own hair out. Gordon shouts back that his hair is not the problem. The protagonist finds it strange. He remembers Gordon being so confident and composed. Was he always like this, or is this the DLC content? Gordon takes a sharp breath and steadies himself, doing the emotional equivalent of pressing continue on a game over screen. Burrs understands. The situation is completely different now. For a moment, he considers telling Gordon the truth about his regression, the ultimate spoiler, but he decides against it. Gordon would probably just think he's lost his mind, that the final boss needs a firmware update. We see Gordon finally catching his breath in the cold snow, recovering from the stress, the sidekick accepting his chaotic fate. He apologizes for his outburst and vows to fulfill his duty. Burrs simply nods in agreement. Gordon formally recites the rule, the programming kicking in. The first standard states that a Demon King must construct his tower in an accessible location, the easy mode setting. He then gives a warning. This place is dangerous, surrounded by mountains. It makes passage nearly impossible for humans, the hardcore difficulty. Burrs ignores the warning completely. He states with firm finality that he will build his tower right here. He plants a small, dormant tower seed into the snow, the ultimate screw-the-meta move. It requires a Demon King's blood to activate. Gordon is appalled. He shouts that this act goes against every standard and throws away a Demon King's pride, the established lore. The protagonist understands his disgust. He knows how deeply this faith is rooted in every demon. He reflects that such belief can only be shattered by a drastic experience, something like death, which is exactly what happened to him. He clenches his fist tightly. Blood wells up and drips from between his fingers. He says it again calmly. The standards are garbage. He lets his blood fall onto the seed. The bespectacled demon stares, utterly shocked and confused by his king's action, watching someone willingly corrupt the save file. The energy from the blood begins to spread, rippling across the snowy landscape. The seed ignites with a fierce, powerful red glow. It shudders, then rapidly germinates, breaking through the snow and ice. A wave of crimson energy expands as Burrs begins to explain. He reveals this region, Aram, is infested with heroes. They are everywhere here, the player hub. Memories of the heroes who killed him in his past life flash before his eyes, the worst kind of nostalgia. A system voice echoes. User identified, Burrs, ideals, Black Flame Demon Dragon Tribe. The identification completes. The ground trembles as the tower is fully summoned, its dark form erupting from the frozen earth. Burrs explains that demon kings kept dying here because the humans deciphered the system. They used the very standards against them, the players who read the wiki and exploit the boss mechanics. Here, these rules don't work. They should be called the hero's standards. Gordon is left speechless, trying to process this, his worldview doing a hard reboot. Before them, a majestic and somber tower now stands against the mountain peaks. Gordon looks up, realizing his king has truly done the impossible, building a base camp in the enemy's spawn zone. The protagonist walks toward the towering entrance and calls for Gordon to follow. Inside the first floor, they find a vast, empty hall, nothing but stone and space. Gordon notes the absence of anything. No furnishings, no defenses, the ultimate starter house with no furniture. Burrs says it's a fitting tower for a king with no privileges, the free-to-play experience. They ascend to the Demon King's chamber on the 5th floor, finding every level similarly barren. Gordon insists that since the tower is built, they must at least follow the second standard, the minion clinging to the tutorial. He recites it. A Demon King must kidnap a highborn prince or princess, the classic fetch quest. He asks for permission to advise. Burrs grants it. Gordon suggests targeting the princess of the Korsan Kingdom. Capturing her would incur the kingdom's wrath, providing them with immense energy to grow stronger quickly, the standard power leveling strategy. He expects a refusal. To his shock, Burrs agrees. Burrs says he already has a specific princess in mind. He orders Gordon to guard the tower in his absence. A wave of relief washes over Gordon. He thinks perhaps his king was just stressed after the graduation ceremony, finally coming to his senses. As Burrs turns to leave, Gordon calls out, asking who he plans to bring back. Burrs turns, his expression turning deadly serious. He reveals his target, the most distant nation on the continent, the kingdom of Hilderim. The scene changes to a luxurious balcony on a quiet, starry night. Suddenly, Burrs appears, hovering outside the window, the unexpected pop-up ad of doom. He states that among all the princesses, his target is the 13th princess, the one with the lowest presence and influence, the background character. He looks at her, his gaze serious. He tells her he has come to take her away tonight. The princess meets his eyes. Her expression is calm, curious, showing not a trace of fear, which is itself terrifying. In a soft, innocent voice, she asks who he is and what he's doing. Burrs is direct. He is a demon king. He is here to kidnap. Unexpectedly, the princess smiles. She asks him a single, strange question. Are you sure you can handle me? Burrs is confused. Is she mocking him? Then she extends her hands toward him as if in surrender. She says she will let him take her. Burrs is immediately suspicious. He demands to know what game she's playing, what trap she's setting, because this is not how the kidnapping tutorial goes. The princess says she has been waiting. She couldn't possibly set a trap without knowing he would come. Burrs has to admit her logic is sound, but the whole situation feels deeply wrong, like the NPC has quest markers above his asterisk head. She stretches her hand out further. She asks if they can go now. Her calmness only makes him more wary. Back at the tower, Burrs flies through the night, the princess in his arms, heading toward his snowy fortress, the most confusing successful mission ever. Gordon greets them at the entrance, visibly relieved his king has returned safely and also very confused by the lack of screaming. Burrs instructs him to place the princess in a room on the 4th floor, not in a dungeon cell. Gordon is surprised but understands. She didn't resist. Gordon then says he has important news. Burrs is curious. On the 4th floor, the princess is left alone in a cold, empty stone hall. She glances around. There are no pillows, no blankets, no maids. She misses the beautiful gardens of her home. This place is nothing like her palace. A mischievous, unreadable smile touches her lips. But this, she thinks, is not so bad, the smile of someone who just unlocked the Interesting Times achievement. In the throne room, Gordon reports an invitation. It's from the Beast Tower, a welcome party for the new Demon King. Burrs is intrigued but suspicious. Demon kings are proud and solitary, but in the dangerous lands of Aram, they formed an alliance out of necessity, the group chat for final bosses. He ignored them in his past life, dismissing them as weak. Now he decides to engage. The scene changes to the Beast Tower, an ancient, formidable structure deep within a forest. Inside, the Beast Demon King, Traxon, lounges on his throne, chewing on a large piece of meat, the picture of toxic masculinity. He greets Burrs with a taunt. He's heard the new kid mock their traditions. Burrs gets straight to the point. Is he here for a fight? If so, get on with it. Traxon laughs. He says the Arcane Lord asked him to look after the newcomer, to teach him some manners. Burrs scoffs, that old vampire. Sending him to Aram wasn't enough of a lesson. Traxon's mood sours. He throws a hunk of meat onto the floor at Burrs' feet. He commands Burrs to lick it. If he does, his earlier impudence will be forgiven. The ultimate power play noob check. Burrs doesn't move. He asks if Traxon even understands why he's here. It's because he mocked their precious orthodoxy. A cold smile plays on Burrs' lips. He reminds Traxon of a core tenet of that orthodoxy. Demon kings are forbidden from fighting each other. Then, in a blur of motion, he ignores the rule entirely. He kicks the piece of meat, sending it and a cloud of dust flying across the room. His eyes are icy. Did Traxon really think he would follow that rule? Traxon feels the terrifying aura radiating from the young king and flinches back, the bully meeting the secret main character. He tries to regain control, stating the Arcane Lord also wanted confirmation if Burrs had kidnapped a princess. This is a threat. Burrs interrupts him. He says he already has. Traxon is stunned into silence, the checklist of intimidation failing. Burrs turns to leave, offering a final remark over his shoulder. The princess he took is quite to his liking. Back in the quiet of his snowy tower, Gordon praises Burrs for displaying a true demon king's majesty, the confidence of someone who just picked a fight with the server admin. Burrs dismisses it as nothing. He orders Gordon to check on the princess. He needs to understand how to use her as a piece in his plans, the mysterious loot box he just acquired. In her room, the window slides shut by itself. Alone on his throne, Burrs contemplates the future. If all the demon kings here are like Traxon, his path will be difficult, like playing a strategy game where the allies are also obstacles. The consequences of rejecting the orthodoxy are greater than he anticipated, but even with another chance, he would choose the same. He would rather die than kneel to garbage again. He resolves to rebuild everything from the ground up. He will not repeat the mistakes of his past life, the ultimate new game plus vow. He checks his energy points and is shocked to see he has over 13,000. The kind of number you see after your credit card gets hacked. The protagonist wonders why he has so many already, having expected far less, like opening a loot box and getting the legendary drop on day one. Suddenly, he receives a recorded video message from the Beast Tower and is curious to see what it is, the ominous DM from the guild leader. Traxon offers congratulations and says that despite their rocky first meeting, he wants to give him something as a senior, the vibe of a toxic teammate offering to carry you. The Beast King remarks that what Burrs accomplished in Aram wasn't easy and he's impressed. Burrs senses something is off with the message, and Traxon's suspiciously friendly attitude, the feeling you get when the final boss sends you a friend request. Suddenly, Gordon runs in, looking like he just saw the wiki update with bad news, and says they have a huge problem on the 4th floor. The 4th floor of the tower, once empty, is now covered in lush vegetation. Colorful flowers bloom from the ground and butterflies fly freely, creating a magical and unexpected scene, like the interior decorator was a Disney princess on crack. Burrs is completely speechless at the drastic transformation. The "I left for 5 minutes" panic. The error message that just says "vibes detected." The princess greets him, and he realizes she has created an entire ecosystem within the magical tower, the ultimate make-yourself-at-home overachiever. The protagonist thinks that only someone who masters all 4 elements could do something like this, a walking environmental hazard. It dawns on him that only one person on the entire continent is capable of this, and she is not the 13th princess. The young woman confirms his suspicion, saying that as expected, he mistook her for her younger sister, Helena, the classic sibling swap. With a cold sweat and a racing heart, the boy begins to understand her true identity, the "oh no, I kidnapped" the main character realization. She introduces herself as Erna Hildurin, the first princess of the kingdom of Hildurin, leaving him stunned, the plot twist you should have seen coming. News of the first princess's capture spreads like wildfire through the kingdom, the ultimate breaking news alert. The king is furious and orders the strongest heroes in the entire army to be gathered for her rescue. He swears he will end the foolish demon king and bring his precious princess back home, the standard dad overreacting protocol. With a mischievous smile, Erna explains that this is exactly why she asked if he could handle the "I told you so" of catastrophic proportion. Burrs wonders how he failed to detect her mana, having heard of a genius elemental mage, the ultimate check the player stats failure. The princess reveals she can conceal her mana with her ring, a royal family heirloom, the pay-to-win cosmetic with op stats. She asks if he wants to send her back, putting the protagonist in a complicated situation, the dialogue choice where both options lead to a game over. He knows he'll be ridiculed if he sends her back, which would cripple his ability to gather demonic energy, the equivalent of getting scammed in the global chat. With that in mind, Burrs decides he must see this plan through to the end, no matter the cost, doubling down on a bad bet. Suddenly, the system detects a massive wave of rage directed at, and his points soar past 19,000, the hate-watching metrics going through the roof. He states coldly that nothing changes, she is still just a hostage, leaving the princess both surprised and thoughtful. The "well, that's one way to deal with it" reaction. The scene shifts to the kingdom of Hildurin, where chaos and fury have taken over the palace, the group chat exploding with notifications. The king orders them to destroy the foolish demon king and bring his precious princess back home. An advisor tries to calm the king, saying they still don't know which demon king did it, though we haven't finished the investigation excuse. King grows even more enraged, shouting that his princess has been kidnapped and they are doing nothing. The classic, "why is nobody panicking but me" meltdown. Suddenly, a man enters and reports something strange about the first princess's kidnapping. He reveals that the demon king of lust was recently defeated for kidnapping a prince. The advisors are shocked and thoughtful at this revelation, and the strange coincidence, connecting red string on a conspiracy board. King grips the arm of his throne, his eyes filled with hate. He deduces it must be the new demon king who appeared in Aram, putting two and two together. A soldier reports they have found traces of teleportation magic heading north. The king is both surprised and furious to learn the magic's destination is the mountains. Of course it's the worst possible place moment. Berg's tower stands imposingly amidst the snowy peaks, awaiting the arrival of the heroes, the final boss arena loading in. Gordon warns that Hildurin's army will arrive soon and asks with a worried look if he can handle it all. The protagonist, with a confident smile and a cunning glint in his eye, prepares to reveal his plan, the trust me bro expression. He says it's fine, the kingdom of Hildurin will never reach the tower. He explains the tower is in the far north and the kingdom is in the far south of the continent. Berg continues, saying the nations along the path will not grant passage to their army, the geopolitical obstacle course. Therefore, they will be forced to hire a heroes guild for the rescue. At the guild, everyone is talking about the princess's kidnapping, wondering who would do such a thing. They refuse to go to Aram, as the place is crawling with monsters and they don't want to risk their lives. That's above my pay grade collective shrug. Burrs explains that the guild won't budge because they only care about money and avoid risks, the mercenary meta. Gordon is surprised, thinking his king has considered everything and doesn't play by the rules like the others. He senses that B knows Aram intimately, as if he's been there before, which intrigues him, the veteran player vibe. The king of Hildurin is furious to learn no hero wants to accept the job and curses them. The advisor explains that the heroes in Aram care more about profit than honor, the freelancer economy. Burrs knows it will take time to form a party, and even more time for them to reach the tower. The classic grinding and travel time buff. He checks his points, but realizes the energy he has isn't enough to deal with an army of heroes. The protagonist remembers the fear he felt facing heroes in his past life and knows how strong they are, the PTSD of a previous playthrough. With a plan in mind, he orders Gordon to contact Draxon, saying he's going to sell demonic energy. The bespectacled demon is horrified and shouts in despair at his king's absurd idea, the equivalent of selling your soul for cash. He explains that demonic energy is the dream currency that allows one to transcend the limits of their species, the ultimate microtransaction. Burrs knows he can't stop the heroes with the energy he has, but with human money, he can do something, the I can buy wins strategy. The scene changes to the fortress city of Holand's work, near the Aram Mountains, where life goes on as normal. Burrs arrives in the city in disguise and is stopped by two guards who question his identity. He presents himself as a mercenary, but the guards are suspicious of a man heading into the mountains alone, the classic "you're underleveled for this zone" comment. The protagonist tosses a gold coin to the guards as a bribe and convinces them to let him pass, the universal skip dialogue but. With passage secured, the boy enters the city, thinking he needs to find a guide for his secret plans. At the Mercenary Guild headquarters, a man complains that the place is good and he doesn't want to leave. He says the soldiers handle the monsters, and they just take the spoils, the leeching playstyle. One of his companions asks if he hasn't heard about the new demon king in the mountain. Another mercenary says he kidnapped the princess of Hildurin, but the captain doesn't believe it. A third man reveals the Heroes Guild refused the job after learning the destination. The captain thinks it's a trick to extort more money, since the princess is a precious bargaining chip, the cynical gamer take. The other mercenaries agree and laugh at the greed of the guild's heroes. Suddenly, Burrs appears behind the captain and says he understands the situation, scaring the man, the jump scare NPC moment. The captain falls to the floor in shock and asks who he is as everyone stares at the stranger. With a sinister smile, B says they seem well-formed and perfect to be his guides, the you'll do of recruiting. The mercenaries are angered and attack, saying he won't leave there alive. Protagonist dodges their attacks with ease and defeats them one by one with powerful punches, the tutorial combat against low-level mobs. He continues to fight with impressive speed and strength, leaving everyone shocked. A giant man tries to attack him with a club, but Burrs stops the blow with a single hand. The boy then shatters the club with a wicked smile and glowing eyes, showing his true power, the "oh, he's the boss" reveal. The mercenaries are terrified by the stranger's display of power and retreat. Archers from the upper floor try to shoot him, but B dodges the arrows effortlessly. He then throws a table at them with supernatural force, defeating them instantly. Outside, people are shocked and call him a monster as Burrs finishes administering his beating. Outside, a mage comments that they're fighting again and wonders if they ever get tired, the background NPC dialogue. The guild floor is covered with defeated bodies as Burrs approaches the fallen captain. He interrogates the man, asking where the slave market is in exchange for his life, the side quest activation. Scene changes to a luxurious, imposing mansion surrounded by trees and a skull-themed gate, the evil HOA neighborhood. B and his mercenary guide walk toward the entrance of the slave market in disguise. The guide shows a cage full of men and asks if they are to the protagonist like. Burrs asks if there isn't something rarer and tosses a bag of gold to the guide as payment, the "show me the premium" section request. With a greedy smile, the guide leads him inside, saying he has exactly what he's looking for. The protagonist reflects that humans desire money and demons desire demonic energy. There's no difference, the universal gacha addiction. They descend a stone staircase toward a more secret area of the market. The guide takes him to a special section where the rarest and most valuable slaves are kept, the loot box with a guaranteed SR. Back at the tower, Burrs explains to Gordon that with human money, he can buy people. He plans to buy an elf known for their integrity to use as a spy against the heroes, the trustworthy because lore says so logic. The protagonist believes using an elf as a spy will create chaos among the heroes, the ultimate infiltrator play. In the kingdom of Hilderin, the hero Lion Carlisle presents himself to the king and accepts the rescue mission. He swears he will rescue the princess and bring back the demon king's head in the name of justice, the classic hero speech. Burrs plans to use the elf as a spy to confuse the heroes and gain an advantage. He believes the innocence of elves will make his plan far more effective and unexpected, the wolf in sheep's clothing strategy. At the slave market, the protagonist says he wants to buy an elf and that his guide will pay for it. Burrs asks if the guide has any objections, and the man denies it in fear as he receives the payment. The hold my beer, but with someone else's wallet. The protagonist asks to be left alone with the elf to confirm something, but the guide is worried. Burrs says it's fine and that if anything happens, the guide will pay for the mistake, leaving the man terrified, the human collateral. He approaches the cage where the elf is chained and observes the scene with a serious look. The boy laments seeing a noble elf reduced to a slave and uses his magic to break the chains, the dramatic freeing animation. The elf senses the demonic energy and asks if he is a demon and what he wants. Burrs offers him a chance to take revenge on the humans who captured and humiliated the join my party prompt. The elf finds the offer tempting, but says he doesn't trust demons any more than he trusts humans. The fool me once skepticism. The protagonist says he is different and promises him safety and freedom in exchange for 50 years of loyalty. He explains that 50 years isn't much for an elf and is better than being humiliated by humans forever, the long-term contract negotiation. The elf accuses him of being a demon who wants to destroy the world tree he served. He also says it's strange for a demon to ask an elf for help, and Burrs admits he has a point. My alignment is chaotic neutral defense. With a cunning smile, the protagonist decides to make an offer the elf can't refuse. He swears upon the Demon King's standards that he will keep his promise and will not touch the World Tree. In return, he asks the elf to swear upon the World Tree to give him loyalty for 50 years, the magical binding contract. The elf calls him strange, but accepts the proposal since he's gone this far to prove his word. He introduces himself as Grenada of the Maple Tribe and says he will make the vow when he sees the Demon King. With a confident smile, Burrs reveals that he is the Demon King recruiting. Grenada is shocked and speechless at the unexpected revelation from the boy before. He starts to laugh, saying that demon kings grow weaker far from their towers and wouldn't buy slaves. Grenada laughs and says that if he is truly a demon king, he will give him loyalty for 100 years, the double or nothing bet. Back at Burrs' tower, Grenada is taken to the 5th floor and is shocked by what he sees, though the screenshots looked better disappoint. Burrs reminds him of the 100-year contract, and the elf realizes he really is a demon king. Grenada shouts that it's a scam and complains that the tower is empty and has nothing up to the 3rd floor. He continues complaining that there's nothing on the 1st floors and that the tower is a fraud, the early access game review. The elf despairs when he sees the 4th floor only has nature and no monsters to protect them. He yells that at this rate they won't last a year and the heroes will destroy them easily. The Doomsday Prepper panic. Burrs remembers their contract and releases his demonic energy to show he's not joking. Grenada feels the pressure of the demonic power and is finally convinced he is a demon king. He remembers that no monsters attacked them on the way because they didn't want to risk confronting a demon king, the high-level player aura. With that in mind, Grenada kneels and swears loyalty to Burrs upon the World Tree for 100 years. He believes he will have an important role in the Red Demon's evil plan and will have his revenge, the epic questline expectation. But to his surprise, Burrs asks him to prepare a meal, leaving him completely confused, the anticlimactic daily quest. Grenada is shocked and speechless at the unexpected and trivial request from the Demon King. He, who expected to be part of an important plan, is now in the kitchen preparing food, the starting from the bottom reality. Princess Erna appears and offers to help cook, confusing the elf even more, the weird party dynamic. In the dining room on the 5th floor, Burrs and his companions sit down for a meal. Grenada asks if the woman is the Princess of Hilderin, and Burrs confirms she is Erna Hilderin. The elf has a meltdown upon learning he kidnapped the crown princess and shouts that he is insane, the we're so dead realization. He despairs, asking how they will stop the heroes with an empty, defenseless tower. Burrs says that's exactly why he bought him and tells him to sit down and eat, leaving the elf bewildered, that just trust the process energy. The protagonist compliments the food, and the princess says she helped, leaving Grenada even more lost, the domestic horror. On the 4th floor, Burrs says that if the heroes make it this far, it will already be game over for them. He reveals that Grenada will disrupt the human world in his place, and the elf understands he is to be a spy, the mission objective finally appearing. The protagonist says he needs to test his abilities and challenges him to a fight right then and there. He offers to fight with one hand, without using demonic energy, and to reduce the contract if Grenada wins, the classic tutorial boss-off. Grenada accepts the challenge and prepares to fight with everything to win his freedom back, the motivated underdog. The elf advances with impressive speed and attacks the protagonist with a series of blows. He uses mana from the environment to strengthen his attacks, surprising Burrs, the clever use of home field advantage. The protagonist praises his movements and realizes he absorbed the mana from the 4th floor, the he's learning moment. Grenada shouts that he chose the wrong opponent and the wrong place as he prepares a powerful attack, the confident one-liner before defeat. He uses his magic to bind Burrs with vines, leaving him vulnerable to a direct attack. The elf charges in for the final blow, yelling that he's going to take his 50 years back. With a sinister smile, Burrs says that should be enough to test his abilities, the data-gathered expression of a player who was never in danger. He transforms into his demonic form, the ultimate "this isn't even my final form" flex, and reminds Grenada that a true opponent now stands before him. The protagonist declares he still won't use demonic energy, but he will control his strength just enough to avoid killing him, the classic "I'm not left-handed either" energy. Grenada is terrified by the transformation and Burrs' overwhelming aura, the kind that gives you a debuff just by looking, and tries to retreat, the instinct to Alt plus F4. A massive explosion rocks the tower, the sound echoing through the surrounding snowy mountains, the neighbors definitely filing a complaint. The scene shifts to the mercenary headquarters in Holand's work, where life goes on as normal, a bunch of NPCs living their daily loops. The mercenary guide who helped Burrs appears, his eyes gleaming with gold and an expression of pure joy, the look of a man who just got tipped in legendary currency. Burrs states he wants to hire the guide for a year, and the man eagerly accepts, asking about the budget, the freelancer's only question. The protagonist tosses a heavy sack full of gold as a deposit, the cha-ching sound effect practically visible, leaving all the mercenaries in the room stunned. The mercenaries swear loyalty to their captain, who begins thinking about recruiting a new squad, the power of a signing bonus. Burrs orders the captain to add one specific man to his team to relay his orders, and the captain agrees. Grenada appears, his face completely bruised and battered, the walking advertisement for a bad time, and introduces himself as the new team member. The mercenaries are shocked and frightened to see the elf's condition after his fight with Burrs, the "we dodged a meteor" realization. They begin to cry from fear and regret for having ever challenged such a powerful man, the group therapy session starting early. The mercenaries come together in a group hug, reluctantly accepting Grenada as their new companion, the welcome to the support group huddle. Burrs observes the scene and thinks that, while mediocre, they are experienced and hard to find, the B-tier party you settle for. He knows the only hero who would answer Hildren's call is Lion Carlisle, the demon slayer, the guy with the very specific job title. The protagonist gives the mercenaries their first mission and orders them to investigate the hero Lion Carlisle. With a serious and determined look, he commands them to gather intelligence on the hero hired by Hildren. Back at his tower, Burrs thinks that now that he's delegated the task to Grenada, it's his turn to get stronger, the main character's mandatory training arc. He observes the monitoring screens and prepares to begin his own training and strengthening. Demonic energy can be used to enhance the tower or the Demon King himself, the classic upgrade yourself or your base RPG choice. The only way for Burrs to grow personally stronger is through spirit flowers, rare mana crystals, the limited time event loot. In the untamed nature of the Aram mountains, spirit flowers naturally absorb mana. Because of this, their energy becomes exceptionally refined and powerful. A true treasure, the gacha drop with a 0.01% rate. Burrs tells Gordon he's going to search for some spirit flowers to increase his power. Gordon warns him it's risky and unprepared, and that monsters will attack him at the first opportunity, the tutorial warning you ignore. Burrs says he can handle the monsters, but finding the flowers will be difficult without a mana detector, the fetch quest without a minimap. Suddenly, they hear a knock at the door and wonder who it could be at this moment. Princess Erna appears with a small slime perched on her head, the ultimate weird pet aesthetic, and asks if they are busy. The two are surprised by the princess's sudden appearance and don't know how to react, the unexpected party member joining the grind. The scene changes to Burrs and Erna leaving the tower, with the princess's elemental spirits floating around them, the ultimate entourage. Erna says she's excited and reminds Burrs of his promise to let her decorate the 4th floor. The protagonist agrees on the condition that she finds the spirit flowers, wondering to himself just how far she will go, the side quest bargain. The princess is happy, thinking she never expected to be able to leave the tower, and is glad she checked in on them. The NPC has agency update. She gently pats one of her fire spirits with a kind smile and prepares for the journey. Burrs picks her up and tells her to hold on tight as he unfurls his demonic wings. He then shoots into the sky at high speed, leaving the princess startled and unprepared, the equivalent of skipping the travel cutscene. The young woman squeezes her eyes shut from the speed and the blinding sunlight. She slowly opens her eyes and is awestruck by the view of the world from above for the very first time, the unlocked fast travel vantage point. Erna realizes she didn't notice the world's vastness on the night she was kidnapped because of the darkness. She remembers her monotonous life of training and study, and thought it would be that way until she died, the backstory of every Ice Guide character. The princess remarks that she's probably the only person who has ever flown over the Aram mountains. Burrs calls her princess and asks what she thinks she's doing, but she interrupts and asks him to call her Erna, the forced familiarity trope. He reprimands her for forgetting her place and threatens to throw her in the underground prison, the classic empty villain threat. Erna apologizes, and Burrs orders her to use her spirits to locate the spirit flower. The princess's spirits scatter, wishing them a safe return from their journey. Burrs thinks they probably won't find the flowers quickly, but they will be faster than searching alone, the party skill making grinding efficient. Suddenly, Erna shouts that she found one and points to a glowing flower in the middle of the snow. A beautiful ice spirit flower shines with a pure bluish light amidst the landscape, the shiny Pokémon in the wild. They notice a group of ogres was already at the location, glaring at them with hostility, the camped mobs guarding the resource node. Burrs calls them descendants of demons and orders them to obey and leave the area peacefully. The ogres refuse, saying they don't like him and that he will die here. The low INT dialogue options. The protagonist laughs, realizing Gordon was right about the wild nature of the monsters. He transforms into his demonic form and states he will simply burn them all to ashes, the AoE farming method. The ogres charge to attack, yelling to protect what is theirs and to kill and eat the intruder. Burrs concentrates his demonic energy, preparing to unleash a devastating attack against them. Black flames from the protagonist envelop the ogres, making them scream in pain and agony, the dot damage ticking. One of the ogres orders the others to attack the weaker one first and charges toward the princess, the classic target the healer strat. Erna is frightened by the approaching ogres, but B moves to protect. He creates a sphere of demonic energy and hurls it at the ogres to stop them. The attack creates a wave of purple energy that sweeps across the battlefield, knocking the enemies back, the perfect crowd control. Erna observes the scene and thinks the ogres are strong enough to topple castles. She is impressed seeing the Demon King's power and realizes he is much stronger than she imagined. The stat comparison window popping up. With his arms crossed, Burrs releases the full extent of his power, showing the true strength of a Demon King, the aura flare for intimidation. The scene ends with the bodies of the ogres fallen in the snow as Burrs and Erna observe the carnage, the loot waiting to be collected. Erna marvels at the pure mana of the spirit flower and admires it with curiosity. Burrs warns her not to covet it, but says she can have it if she finds more flowers, the dangling carrot. Unfortunately, they don't find any more flowers, even with Erna trying her hardest to search, the RNG betrayal. Back at Burrs' tower, the protagonist reflects on recent events and his plans. He thinks kidnapping her wasn't a mistake, as she may be more useful than he imagined, the accidentally recruited an S-tier feeling. The princess sleeps peacefully on the 4th floor, covered by Burrs' coat and surrounded by her spirits, the weirdly cozy captive light. Gordon informs him they've received a contact from Grenada, and Burrs is surprised by the speed, the side quest progressing faster than the main story. Grenada reports that Lion Carlisle and 32 other heroes have departed from Hildren's capital. They are following the classic path of forming a party and leveling up through village quests, the standard hero's journey montage. Gordon had prepared several plans for the hero's journey, but Burrs discards them without even looking, the skip tutorial veteran move. The protagonist orders his servant to dismiss all the plans he had prepared. With a cunning smile, Burrs says he will not send monsters or create interruptions for the hero's journey, the subversion of expectations. Instead, he orders Grenada to join the hero's journey with the mercenaries to build trust and gather information from within, the ultimate spy mission. Gordon worries about the tower's lack of defenses, but Burrs reassures him, saying he has a plan. The protagonist reveals he is going to reinforce the tower with the help of a dwarf, leaving Gordon stunned, the recruiting another race chaos. The bespectacled demon nearly has another meltdown at the idea of having a dwarf in the tower alongside a human and an elf. The party comp is all wrong panic. Burrs ignores him and concentrates his demonic energy, preparing for his next move. He explains he isn't going to stop the heroes with a dwarf, but with dwarf-crafted magical tools, the pay-to-win equip. Burrs states that the heroes will expect weak monsters on the 1st floor, but instead they will be greeted by mana cannons, the jump from goblins to a turret sequence. Gordon is shocked by the idea and realizes the heroes would never be prepared for something like that, the cheese strat that breaks the game. Gordon shakes his head in denial, saying this is still too far outside the standards. He turns and sees that Burrs has already vanished from his throne, leaving him alone in the room, the protagonist's classic, "I'll be back" exit. The bespectacled demon despairs upon realizing his king has left for another kidnapping without any warning, the "here we go again" sign. The scene changes to Wafner, the underground city of the dwarves, where life moves at its own steady rhythm, the crafting hub zone. A dwarf blacksmith works at his forge with intense skill and concentration, shaping hot metal, the master crafter animation. We learn this dwarf is Fried, quite possibly the best smith alive, the named legendary artisan, and he appears to be the next target for abduction,